doors. Doors are closed, yeah, quick start. It's the first time I went up, I went, yep, this is it. I'll do this forever.
Flight controls.
Checked.
And check your equipment.
That's clear on the left.
It was always Andrew Lennox's boyhood dream to fly big jets for Qantas, and he thought he was on his way. Until 2 months ago, he was flying Qantas-Link propeller planes up and down Australia's east coast. But his career was going no further.
Pushback from Bay 3, tail to the west.
Now Andrew Lennox has taken his 10 years training and experience and headed offshore to New Zealand, where he's learning to fly 777 jets for a new job in India.
I'm probably getting $20,000 a year more, at least, to go overseas.
Air India is booming, and Andrew Lennox expects he'll make captain there within a few years, an opportunity, he says, Qantas couldn't provide.
I think there's a lot of people disillusioned with what's going on at the moment. Yeah, there are a lot of guys leaving because they can't see a future in.
Our salaries and our conditions are certainly equal of any in the world. We're not seeing Qantas pilots leave and go overseas.
But there are Qantas-Link pilots leaving, aren't there?
A few will leave, but most of them stay within Australia.
Qantas chief pilot Chris Manning admits more than 20% of Qantas-Link pilots have left the regional carrier this financial year alone. He says the majority have gone to jobs with Qantas Mainline or Jetstar.
The expansion of the industry overall, at all levels, has seen a need for pilots. And pilots, like anyone else, will want to better themselves and move upwards.
QantasLink is a training ground for other airlines throughout the world.
Captain Ian Woods' day job is flying Qantas jumbos around the globe. He says Australian pilots such as Andrew Lennox are in demand in an industry which is growing rapidly, especially in Asia and the Middle East.
Market supply and demand that says that he who pays the most will keep the pilots and those who can't afford or won't have any.
Yeah, I mean, the rapid growth in India has really created massive problems for...
Peter Harbison from the Centre for Asia-Pacific Aviation says the global pilot shortage is a problem that won't go away in a hurry.
It's bad now, but it looks like getting a whole lot worse. Salaries go up, which means that airline costs go up. That means that prices go up for the consumer.
The loss of pilots from QantasLink has had a dramatic impact on regional services in Queensland and New South Wales.
We've tried to reduce services to certain ports without cancelling services to any port.
But inevitably reducing services means there are less for those areas that are affected?
That's correct, yes.
QantasLink is not alone. Regional Express, or Rex, is Australia's largest independent regional airline. Rex declined the 7:30 Report's request for an interview, but has also blamed its service cuts in Queensland and New South Wales on an unsustainable loss of pilots, who are leaving the airline at a rate of 60% a year.
It is a serious problem. It has not fully hit yet the domestic or international carriers, but odds on it that will happen in the not-too-distant future.
Lawrie Cox from the Australian Federation of Air Pilots says pilots are leaving the regional airlines because there's little incentive to stay.
In the regional areas, we've got pilots that will spend $80,000 to $100,000 to get their basic licence, but their return on that investment is salaries down around about the $40,000, no more than $50,000 mark. And that's just not a viable return, and that's why pilots will move on their careers quickly.
At Aviation High, you don't just study aerospace. All students in years 8 to 12 study English with a full range of high school subjects available.
Australia has long been a nursery for employees in the global aviation industry.
You've got such a large aircraft, it's going to take a while to get off the ground.
One Queensland state school, Aviation High in Brisbane, is capitalising on that, starting recruits young with a curriculum tailor-made for a career in flying, engineering or cabin crewing.
It's pretty unique in Australia that we've actually developed it specifically to encourage students into an area that we haven't really tapped into before.
I'm hoping to start off just commercially. I want to become a commercial pilot and just around Australia, and then I'm hoping that that'll lead into more opportunities overseas.
While these students have their sights set on a flying career, Once they leave school, they may find it harder to get into a pilot training program. Qantas and Rex both do have new cadet courses, but critics argue it's too little, too late.
If you're going to build a skills base, then you've got to look at a long-term plan. The lead time to get a pilot trained to the level that's necessary, you just can't basically pick it out of a Wheaties box, unfortunately.
We've had that, the inheritance of not investing in training through the late 90s and early part of this century, combined with rapid growth of the airline industry itself, and together that's put us in the jaws of this problem now.
At Qantas, our commitment to being Australia's airline is stronger than ever.
To address at least some of the problem, Qantas has just started a new traineeship program which aims to fast-track new pilots into QantasLink.
That will put through currently 14 pilots and then around 10 to 12 pilots a month coming in fully funded by QantasLink. And that should have services resumed later in the year.
But it remains to be seen whether or not those new pilots will stay with the regional carrier, or if, like Andrew Lennox, they too will be enticed by broader horizons overseas.
You see the airplane with the big red tail and the white kangaroo, and it is Australia. I would have loved to be sitting up front of one of them, but you've got to look after yourself and kind of plan a future, and unfortunately I didn't think it was possible to go into Qantas.